In the meantime, Psyche wandered far and wide over hill and dale, through wildernesses and ancient forests, in search of her husband, for the words of Pan had put a little heart into her, and she said to herself, "If I can but find my dearest, though he can never love me again, he will surely forgive me when he sees me begging for mercy at his feet." One hot summer's day as she journeyed, she spied a little temple on the top of a high hill and thought, "Who knows if my dear lord and husband is there?" So she climbed the hill, and a weary climb it was. And going into the temple, she saw the floor all scattered over with sheaves of corn and barley, among which lay scythes, sickles, and reaping hooks, but all in disorder, as though tossed carelessly down by the reapers. Then Psyche set about putting everything tidy, hoping to please the god or goddess to whom the temple belonged by this small service. For indeed, she thought, I sorely need the help of some kindly power. Now this was a chapel of Ceres, the corn goddess, to whom some countryfolk had newly brought the first fruits of their harvest, and they had left their reaping tools there also while they went to take their midday nap in a wood not far off. And presently who should come into the temple but Ceres herself? When she saw Psyche busy putting the place in order, she stopped at the threshold and cried, "Ah, Psyche, poor culprit, what do you in this house of mine? Go, go, you should be in hiding. Do you not know that Venus is searching for you everywhere, full of rage, and will cruelly punish you if you fall into her hands?" Psyche looked and knew this must be Ceres by her crown of wheat ears and poppies, and the gleaner's basket in her hand. Then she fell down at Ceres's feet and bathed them with tears, bowing her fair head to the dust, and thus she prayed. "O, great and holy goddess, I beseech thee by thy bountiful right hand, by thy joyous harvest, festivals, by thy dragon chariot, by the sacred mysteries of thy temple at Eleusis, hear my prayer. By the marriage of Proserpine thy daughter with King Pluto, which cost thee all that pain to seek her through the world, by thy grief and weary wanderings, oh, take pity on me, thy humble servant Psyche. Let me hide myself here among the corn sheaves for a few days until the anger of great Venus is cooled, or at least until I have rested a little after my long, toilsome journeying." But Ceres answered, "In truth, Psyche, I am much moved by your prayers and tears and desire with all my heart to aid you. But if I harbored you here I should offend Venus, my own brother's child, and my sworn friend from of old. So take it not amiss that I send you away at once." Then, sick at heart with disappointment, Psyche crept out of the temple and went on her way. When she had gone about a league, she spied far off in a valley another temple, larger and more stately than the first, and she hastened towards it in hopes that there she might be suffered to take sanctuary. Coming near, she saw many golden necklaces and girdles, and rich vestments inwrought with gold, hanging on the door-posts of the temple and on the trees around it, and all these offerings were engraved or embroidered with the name of Juno. Psyche went in and, kneeling devoutly before the altar, she clasped it with both hands and prayed in these words. "O, spouse of Most High Jupiter, thou that art worshipped in the great temples of Samos, in rich Carthage, and by the waters of Inachus, thou that all the East adores as Queen of Heaven, hear my prayer. Thou that art the protectress of all women and especially of those that are with child, have pity on me and on my unborn babe. O, deliver me from the danger that pursues me, grant rest and shelter in thy house to me that am sore oppressed with grief and weariness." No sooner had she thus spoken than Queen Juno stood before her in all her glorious majesty. "Truly, Psyche," she said, "I would gladly help you, but it goes against my conscience to thwart my son's wife Venus, whom I have always loved like my own daughter. Besides, I should break the law against harboring runaway slaves, for I hear you are one, whom Venus your mistress is seeking to recover. So I must bid you leave my house immediately." Being thus turned away the second time, poor Psyche rose up and went out of the temple with faltering steps, sobbing like a lost child. And now despair came over her and made her reckless. "There is no use in prayers," she said to herself. "The gods will not help me, they only drive me away. Alas, what shall I do now? Where can I hide myself? What wood or cavern is so dark and secret that Venus will not find me there? Nay, I will not be tracked down and dragged out like a beast from its lair. I will be brave, I will go straight to Venus and humbly yield myself into her hands, as though I were indeed her runaway handmaid. Yes, that is what I must do, for how do I know that he whom I seek may not be in his mother's house? For 3 days Psyche journeyed on, footsore and weary, then she came to a stately palace near the sea. It was built of white marble, and all around it were apple orchards full of fruit and gardens full of roses and myrtle. Sparrows were twittering under the eaves of the roof, and flocks of white doves, perched on ledges and cornices, made the air musical with their cooing. Psyche saw 2 hawks wheeling overhead, and dreaded to see them swoop upon doves, but to her great wonder, the doves still cooed serenely, the sparrows flew fearlessly down from their nests and hopped about the lawns, and the birds of prey sailed on. And by this token she knew she had come to the house of Venus, for the sparrow and the dove were the chosen favorites and pensioners of the love goddess. Doves drew her silver car whenever she went abroad in state, and the bold, merry sparrows cheeped and twittered as they followed in her train. As Psyche approached the palace door, the portress, whose name was Custom, came out to meet her and cried with a loud voice, "Oh ho, so you have come at last, you trollop, and high time, too. Nay, never look so innocent, as though you did not know well enough what a hue and cry there has been after you. Come along, your mistress is waiting for you, and I promise you, you shall learn what slavery means. Ha, ha, she will make your life a torment." And seizing Psyche by the hair, she dragged her into the presence of Venus. When Venus, who was lying on a golden couch heaped with fresh rose leaves, saw poor Psyche stand trembling before her, all dusty and travel-stained and with dishevelled hair, she laughed aloud. But it was cruel laughter, that had more anger than mirth in it, and as angry women do, she tossed her head and pulled at her earrings while she laughed. Then said she, "Oh, goddess, fair goddess, so you have deigned at last to visit your mother-in-law, or should I rather say, you have come to see your husband, who lies at death's door from the wound you gave him? Be sure, in either case, I will treat you like a daughter. Ho, where are my handmaids, Sorrow and Sadness?" Instantly those handmaids came forward, dark-robed and stern-visaged. Venus bade them take Psyche out of the chamber and scourge her with myrtle rods, and bring her back again. And when that was done, the goddess laughed louder than before and assailed Psyche with many a bitter taunt and jibe. Then she took her to a room empty of furniture, where a great heap of grains of wheat, barleycorns, poppy seeds, peas, lentils, and beans lay mixed together on the floor, and looking disdainfully at her, "You are such an ugly wench," she said, "that your lover can only have chosen you because you seemed a hard-working servant. So now I will see what you can do. You shall sort out all the grains and seeds in this pile and make a separate heap of each kind, and mind you finish the task before night." Then, having shut Psyche up in the room, Venus went off to a great banquet that the gods were holding that day. But Psyche did not set about that task, for she saw it was impossible. She sat down on the floor in a corner and remained there motionless and silent, too dazed with wretchedness even to cry. But helpers were at hand that neither she nor her harsh taskmistress could have dreamed of. A busy little ant on her travels had overheard all that passed between Venus and her prisoner, and the tiny creature pitied Psyche and cursed the cruelty of the goddess. Forthwith she ran hither and thither and called to her all the ants in the countryside, saying, "Oh, friends, nimble children of Earth the All-Mother, I pray you come and rescue this poor maiden who is married to Cupid, for she is in danger of death from her cruel mother-in-law. Come, let us all go quickly to her aid." And presently, as Psyche sat staring dully at the heap in front of her, behold, it began to stir as though alive, and little brown streams seemed running from it in all directions, until it had melted away. Psyche thought she must be dreaming. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. Yes, the big heap was gone, but around the room lay 6 smaller heaps, one all wheat, one all barley, and so on, for a whole army of ants had crept in under the door and set to work sorting out the different kinds of grains and seeds, having done which, they ran away again as fast as they could. At nightfall, Venus returned home from the banquet merry with wine, crowned with roses and smelling of spikenard, and in this guise she came to see what Psyche had been doing. When she saw that the task was done, she was astonished, but all she said was, "This is not your work, girl, but your lover's." Then she threw Psyche a small piece of brown bread and went away to sleep. And much she wondered how Cupid could have contrived to help Psyche, for, after clipping his wings as she threatened, she had shut him up in the strongest room of her palace. So there were these two lovers under the same roof, but divided from each other by bolts and bars.